What's up everybody and welcome to a new video on Next Gen. I am Lauan and today with David we're going to talk about one of the new aspects of the upcoming Metroid Dread, the new mainline installment in the Metroid series, the first in 19 years. And leading up to the release of this highly anticipated game, the mother of all Metroidvanias, we will discuss regularly new information about the game leading up to the release of Metroid Dread. So you can look forward to that. So subscribe to our channel, subscribe to Next Gen to stay up to date on the latest information on Metroid Dread. And today, one of the topics we're going to discuss are the E.M.M.I, which is the new sort of antagonist, or antagonists, I should say, robotic antagonists of Metroid Dread. They have been very prominently featured in the first gameplay reveal and in the Nintendo Treehouse presentations that were published online by Nintendo. And in that we can really see E.M.M.I interacting with Samus in this new adventure. And so, starting from the beginning, this is the first new mainline game in the Metroid series in 19 years. So ever since Metroid Fusion was released, I think it was back in 2003, this is the first mainline Metroid game after that. And chronologically, it will therefore also take place directly after Metroid Fusion and Metroid Federation Force, which was the spin-off that happened in between. And so it takes place somewhere after the year 2081, because that was when Metroid Fusion took place. And it's a new mission for Samus. So the basic premise of the game is that Samus is being sent to this planet that is infested with these robotic enemies. And exactly the goal of her mission is kind of unclear, but we know that these robotic predators are on this planet because they are being sent there to investigate the X-Parasite. So if you remember, the X-Parasite came from Metroid Fusion, was first introduced in Metroid Fusion, and was basically a parasite that Samus encountered on one of her missions, and then fused with her suit. She was then given a Metroid vaccine which saved her life, but she was imprehensibly connected with her suit forever after. She's basically one with her suit. So the basic premise of Metroid Dread is that Samus has been sent to this planet to investigate what happened to the E.M.M.I. And the E.M.M.I, they have been created by the Federation and have been sent to planet ZDR, so that's the planet where we are in this Metroid. She's been sent to planet ZDR to investigate what happened to these robots, because apparently they all went rogue. They came to this planet, we know that, to investigate the X-Parasite that we all know from Metroid Fusion, and that is the cause that Samus is fused with her suit. So the E.M.M.I were first conceived by Yoshio Sakamoto, who is the producer on the game, when he was developing Dread 15 years prior to the announcement. So that was all the way back in 2006. And the E.M.M.I, they are inspired by the SAX from Metroid Fusion. And if you remember the SAX was basically a clone of Samus, a X-Parasite clone of Samus. Well, I should actually say there were clones, because there were multiple SAXs. And this was a very menacing stalker throughout the game. Now there is some overlap between the E.M.M.I and the SAX, because they are both, of course, stalking enemies. But if you remember, the SAX encounters in Metroid Fusion were very scripted. You only encountered the X in certain areas. So the AI programming of the SAX was not that advanced, but from the E.M.M.I will be really different. It will relentlessly pursue Samus if they catch her. And Sakamoto said that he is actually very proud of this E.M.M.I design and gameplay as it is now, which exceeds his idea from the original concept from 15 years ago.
Okay, so the SAX was first encountered in Metroid Fusion by Samus and was created by corrupt Federation officers. But who created the E.M.M.I?
Yes, so the E.M.M.I were presumably created for military applications. And E.M.M.I is an abbreviation. So it is actually the full name of these robots is Extraplanetary Multiform Mobile Identifier, and very likely by the same splinter group that was behind the events that took place on this bottle ship in Metroid Other M and on the Biologic Space Laboratories research station from Metroid Fusion. So if you remember, there was a corrupt splinter group of Federation officials that are behind the events of both games. However, it's very likely that these robots are based on Chozo technology, although that hasn't been confirmed, but we know that the Federation of course is using Chozo technology for other weapons. And prior to the events of Dread, the Federation received a mysterious video message that indicated the survival of the X-Parasites. And they traced this transmission to planet ZDR, so the planet on which Metroid Dread, on which these adventures of Samus take place. They sent a team of 7 E.M.M.I robots to investigate if there really is an X-Parasite on this planet. But they discovered that they soon vanish after arriving on the planet, and that will probably be the reason that Samus is being sent to this planet to investigate why the E.M.M.I are not communicating back to the Federation. And probably the intention of the E.M.M.I was to have them used for peaceful research purposes. According to official information from Nintendo, the E.M.M.I are DNA extracting machines that are now relentlessly bent on capturing Samus Aran. So that is what we also can see in the different gameplay and in the footage that was released already. We actually see that they have some giant needle, and that needle is really used to extract DNA from other species.
Yes, definitely. And now the real question remains, why do they need Samus DNA and what are they going to use it for?
Yes, indeed. So what is the ultimate goal of them? Well, it is possible that given the Metroid DNA that Samus has within her, as a result of the vaccine from Metroid Fusion, the E.M.M.I want to extract this DNA in order for this Federation splinter group to revive the Metroid species again. That has, of course, not been confirmed, but it could very well be the case that this is the ultimate goal of this splinter group. And these ringleaders are high-ranking Federation members who want to create stronger weapons, so this could definitely be true. It wouldn't be the first time that they do this, because for example, if you remember, they also created Project Nightmare, the boss from Metroid Fusion and from Other M, and they also commanded the Metroid breeding program from Metroid Fusion. So this is definitely something that would fit their motivations.
Yes, very interesting. And in the gameplay we've seen so far from Metroid Dread, we can actually see that these E.M.M.I are really bound on hunting down Samus. So does that also mean we will be running away from these enemies the entire game?
Well, first of all, it looks like there are separate E.M.M.I zones. It's not like you will encounter them anywhere in the world. It looks like they only are searching within specific zones of the game. And you can see what these zones are by the type of door that you enter through. So it's something like a pixelated door, you can see it over here. And if you enter that door, then this will be an E.M.M.I zone where they will basically are crawling around in their weird animalistic mechanical way, searching for Samus and scanning the environment. And the E.M.M.Is, it looks like the different E.M.M.Is will have different abilities, but it looks like they all track you based on sight and sound. But you have different tools at your disposal as well. So for example, there is a red dot on the map that shows you where these E.M.M.Is are. And their haunting chirps and beeps broadcast also when they are near. And a fun fact about these beeps, that is actually a part of the OST of the original soundtrack from Metroid 2 Return of Samus, the original Metroid 2 Return of Samus, not the remake. So that is from an old track of Metroid 2 Return of Samus where they took those beeps from. You can listen to the difference right here. I think it's a really nice throwback to this original Metroid 2 that they used those sound bits from that they used those sound bites from that. So continuing with these E.M.M.I zones, so the E.M.M.I zones are very tense affairs. These relentless robots, they stalk Samus with a scary effectiveness, and losing them is probably not an easy task. And if you remember, these E.M.M.Is, they really fit what Metroid has become all about. So a stalking antagonist that is really chasing Samus. The bounty hunter, so to say, gets hunted herself. So it looks like in the game there will be at least 7 EMMIs. That's what we can also see on the box art. And so far we have seen at least 4 ones. So we have seen this gray one that you can see over here, which looks like it's kind of broken. And then there is also a white one that we've seen in the gameplay. There is a green one and there is a yellow one. So we can also kind of guess the other colors, but that doesn't really make sense. But it looks like these different robots will all have different abilities as well. And they are nearly unbeatable the way we understand it. So we see that in the beginning of the tree house that Samus actually finds a AI type from which she obtains a new weapon. I think it's called the Omega Cannon. And with that she can actually she can defeat this E.M.M.I. So it looks like it's only possible with very special, powerful weapons. Yeah, so that's probably how you will have to deal with these E.M.M.Is.
So like a real Metroid game, we're getting upgrades, weapons and abilities. Is that everything we can do when we're encountering an E.M.M.I?
So there's a couple of things that Samus can do. So first of all, of course, it's the easy way out, but you can escape those E.M.M.Is. And that is probably not always an easy task. Although I did notice that in the treehouse they kind of run circles around a certain E.M.M.I. But it looks like, based on the color of their scanner, so I think you have white, yellow and red, it looks like that will give an indication if they are detecting you or not. And of course, if it's red, they will be aware of your presence and you will probably have to really make a run for it. And so one of the things that you can do is, of course, get out of that certain location. Then another thing that Samus can do is, of course, she can hide. So first of all, she can stay out of sight. And then there is, of course, the new Phantom Cloak ability. So using the Phantom Cloak ability, she can make herself invisible. The E.M.M.I. will not be able to detect her, even though that Samus is right in front of her. And I think that can make for some really scary situations. You can already imagine it, that the E.M.M.I. is, for example, almost sniffing like a dog around the environment, but she cannot detect Samus, even though he is only maybe a few centimeters apart from her. So that can make for some very tense situations, I can only imagine. And then of course she can battle the E.M.M.I. So like I said before, it looks like that with the proper equipment, so with the right weapons, she can actually destroy an E.M.M.I. But it looks like it will be very difficult. And it looks like basic normal weapons will not be effective against this enemy. And well, the fourth way to deal with an E.M.M.I, it's not really how to deal with it, but I mean, it's an instant death enemy. So if Samus gets captured, her only last chance is, almost like a quick time event counter. And that will be the last possible way to deal with this enemy. So they are really relentlessly bent on killing Samus and getting that Metroid DNA out of her. So it looks like these will make for some very tense, dangerous situations, encounters. And so that is really what the title Metroid Dread also refers to. Dread basically means to anticipate with great apprehension or fear. And that looks like that will be at the core of these encounters with the E.M.M.I. So that you will never really feel safe in those E.M.M.I. zones. That will be just one of the things that will be very important in this new Metroid title, this new mainline Metroid game. And of course, there will be a lot of other mysteries and intriguing things about this new Metroid where we want to dive deeper into the future. So you can look out to the other videos that we will make in this series, where we will also cover these other elements in this new Metroid game, such as the planet, the Chozo, and also the other weapons and abilities of Samus. So you can look forward to that. And I would just like to say thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.